Hi, I'm Carol Mikowski, and this is the second day of the vlog challenge. The topic for today is share your story. In my years, I've experienced several life-changing events. The most critical was the passing of my life partner of 33 years, Carmen. She had metastatic breast cancer and lived 12 years past the original diagnosis. It was not a sudden passing, yet when someone passes, it feels sudden. 1 second they're here, and the next they're gone. There was family who stayed with me for a while afterward. My stepdaughter, her husband, two of her children, and another stepdaughter. They alternated depending on their work and school schedules. And then came the point when it was time to tell them to get back to their lives and to go home. For a while, I tried to catch up on some sleep, having been sleep deprived for many weeks. People called to see how I was doing. I was tending to business that needed to be done. Then the phone stopped ringing. Details were done. And now, what was I to do? Who was I to be? Nothing was the same. It was no longer Carmen and Carol. It was just Carol. Shopping was a time for crying, as I would see items that Carmen liked on the shelves and realize that there was no more bringing them home for her. And those feelings brought on severe longing. Not a good experience shopping. I didn't want to do anything alone. She was the social one of the couple. Life was lived not one day at a time, but a moment at a time. I remember one afternoon I was in the living room and I was just going to sit down on the sofa for a little while. I was halfway between sitting down and standing up and went into a state of suspension. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to continue sitting down or whether to stand back up again. Thank God the doorbell rang. A friend of mine came over for a visit, and then I had to do something. I had to get up and go answer the door and have a visit with her. I was very grateful that she came. As time passed, I joined a local bereavement group, and into the group walked Ellie. She and I talked after the group, and another group member asked Ellie to keep in touch with me because the other person thought that I was in pretty bad shape. So we stayed in touch by email almost on a daily basis, and we used to get together once a week and do things together. Ellie introduced me to the world of spirituality and metaphysics. I knew nothing of that before. I shouldn't say that. Carmen was beginning to get into that herself and try to interest me in it, but I didn't pay much attention to it. At this point, I was desperate. Desperate for something to hang on to, desperate for something to make sense to me. So Ellie and I would talk for hours and hours on Mondays when she'd come over and visit. And we'd go into the wee hours of the morning until finally she had to go home. And eventually she gave me some tapes of Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks, if any of you are familiar with them. And thank God for those tapes. Thank God for Ellie. They saved my life. I thought of taking my life, but I didn't go too deeply into that because I knew my dog needed me. As time passed, I began to come back to life and become whole again. I found a new understanding of Carmen's passing that I could accept. Religion could not do that for me. And I actually became a crazy widow woman. That's what Ellie and I used to call each other, crazy widow women. I shed my fears because I no longer feared death. I began to fly again. I traveled to California on my own. I met up with some old friends and family members family friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. Went to Puerto Rico, went to North Carolina. Ellie and I went on cruises together. And I also did things by myself that I never would have done before. I even slept in my little pop-up in the backyard all one summer because I realized how much I like to sleep outside. So this new information that I was exposed to through Wayne Dyer, Abraham, and some others, Louise Hay, began to read, changed my life and enabled me to turn a corner. With some recent introspection, I found that I've become too complacent with my life, and I want to stir things up again. So I joined an internet marketing company. I know nothing of internet marketing, or do I know anything about the technical skills that are needed to support the business on the computer. But I will learn, and I am learning, and Ellie tutors me. P.S. Ellie and I became more than friends, and we've been a couple for 8.5 years now. Bye. Talk to you next time.